Welcome back to the Deep Dive, and a big welcome to everyone tuning in to Tech Talk Central. Today, we're diving into a decision that, let's be honest, probably keeps a lot of creative pros up at night, picking the right 5K monitor.
It's a big one, yeah, because when your work is visual video, photos, design, your monitor isn't just, a screen. It's basically your window into the quality of your own work, your main QC point.
Exactly.
And we're looking at two really interesting 27-inch 5K options today. Heavyweights, really. But they come at it from, well, fundamentally different angles.
Yeah, our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're unpacking the ASUS ProArt Display 5K PA27 JCV versus the Apple Studio Display. Both give you that amazing 5K sharpness, but like you said, the philosophy behind how they deliver it, totally different.
Yeah.
So this deep dive, it's all about giving you those key pieces of information you need to figure out which one fits your creative workflow best, quickly.
Right. Let's get straight into it then. The core specs, the panel itself. Okay, so the baseline. They're both 27 inches. Both have that crisp 5K resolution 5120 by 2880 pixels. Same 16.9 aspect ratio.
That pixel density, 218 ppi, is just incredibly sharp. That's the common ground.
Yep. But right away, you see a major split, the display surface. It's fascinating, actually. Apple goes with the glossy screen, standard glass. Gives you that really vibrant, kind of punchy look that a lot of people like. And crucially, it hits a peak brightness of 600 nits, which is, well, really bright.
600 nits, yeah. That
Yeah.
screams HDR, doesn't it? And, being able to work next to a bright window, maybe?
It definitely does. Now, compare that to the ASUS ProArt. They go the other way, a matte surface. They call it Lux Pixel AGLR Anti-Glare Low Reflection, designed specifically for reducing reflections for those controlled studio environments.
And that matte finish, that's a huge deal for creators, isn't it? Like, if you've got tricky lighting, overhead lights, windows, that anti-glare can be a lifesaver, even if maybe it feels a tiny bit less punchy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a trade-off. And that leads us to brightness on the ASUS. Its standard SDR brightness is listed at 300 CDM water, which is 300 nits. So half the peak brightness of the Apple display for standard stuff. But, and this is important, the ASUS is rated for HDR 500, so it can get brighter for HDR content.
Okay, so that raises a key question for, someone doing color grading. Does that standard 300 nits on the ASUS matter negatively compared to Apple's 600? Or is that 600 nits mostly for, like, watching HDR movies rather than creating SDR content?
That's a really good point. For most standard dynamic range, color, work, print, web, sRGB stuff, you're often targeting maybe 100, 120 nits anyway. So 300 nits is perfectly fine, more than enough. The Apple 600 nits is great for HDR viewing, sure, and maybe working in really bright rooms. But if you're in a properly light-controlled studio, which ideally you should be for critical color work,
Right.
then that ASUS matte surface arguably becomes more valuable than the extra SDR brightness on the Apple. You're choosing reflection control over that glossy pop.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about which number is bigger, it's about which spec serves your actual work. Speaking of work, let's talk color accuracy, the absolute mandate for creators. And again, totally different approaches here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The ASUS focuses hard on certified hardware performance. It's got that Kalman verified badge, factory calibrated to a Delta E less than 2, which is excellent.
Okay, hold on. Delta E less than 2. For someone listening, what does that actually mean in practice? Like, can you see the difference?
Good question. So Delta E is basically a measure of color error. How far off is the displayed color from the perfect target color? Generally, the human eye struggles to see any difference below a Delta E of, say, 3. So less than 2. That means it's practically indistinguishable from perfect. It's pro-level accuracy right out of the box.
Wow, okay. That's serious hardware calibration. And the color gamut coverage numbers seem to back that up. 99% DCI-P3, 100% RGB, and 95% Adobe RGB. That last one's big for photo and print, right?
Huge, yeah. Video editors will care most about that DCI-P3 coverage, standard for digital cinema. But photographers, graphic designers working for print, they need that wide Adobe RGB coverage, and 95% is very strong. ASUS delivers that.
So how does Apple counter? They don't really talk about Delta E scores in the same way.
Apple leans on its ecosystem and software integration. The The studio display supports P3 wide color, a billion colors, sure. But its real strength in this area is the built-in reference modes. You can just select digital cinema P3 DCI or design and print P3D50 from a menu.
Ah, okay, so instead of guaranteeing a universal low error score like ASUS with its calibration, Apple guarantees adherence to specific industry standards through the software profile.
Precisely. Which is super convenient if you're all in on Apple hardware and software. It just works. But, this brings up a point for you, the listener. What if you use a mix? Maybe a powerful Windows PC for 3D rendering. Do those Apple reference modes translate perfectly, or are you better off with that hardware-verified ASUS calibration that works the same no matter the OS?
That cross-platform reliability of the ASUS calibration is definitely a point to consider for mixed OS studios. Big point. Okay, let's shift gears from the panel. We've nailed down the display differences, but none of it matters if you can't easily connect your computer and, crucially, charge it while working. And this is where things get really interesting again, connectivity and power.
Yeah, for anyone running a power-hungry laptop like a MacBook Pro or a beefy Windows workstation, keeping it charged without extra bricks is huge. And both monitors meet on a really important spec here, 96W of power delivery. Both deliver that much power over the main USB-C or Thunderbolt connection.
96 watts. That's substantial. What does that practically mean for you?
It means you can plug in, say, a 16-inch MacBook Pro doing heavy video rendering or a serious mobile workstation, and it will charge properly just from the monitor cable. No separate power adapter needed for the laptop. It cleans up the desk, simplifies the setup. Big quality of life win.
Definitely. But after that main connection, the port philosophy diverges completely. Apple's Studio Display is super minimalist. One upstream Thunderbolt 3 port for the computer, then 3 downstream USB-C ports. Fast, 10 gigabits per second, good for SSDs and stuff.
Right, very clean, very Thunderbolt-centric.
And the ASUS, it's like the Swiss Army knife of ports.
Yeah, pretty much. You get DisplayPort over USB-C, but also a dedicated DisplayPort input, an HDMI port, and a regular USB hub with Type-A ports. So if you need to connect, I don't know, an older gaming console via HDMI or switch between a Mac and a Windows PC tower easily, those extra dedicated inputs on the ASUS are essential. Apple just doesn't offer them.
Plus, the ASUS has a really neat trick up its sleeve. Built-in auto KVM.
Yes, the KVM switch. That's a fantastic feature for productivity. KVM stands for Keyboard, Video, Mouse. Basically, if you have, say, your work laptop and your personal desktop connected to the monitor simultaneously, the ASUS can automatically switch your single keyboard and mouse to control whichever computer is currently active on the display. No need for a separate physical KVM box cluttering your desk. It just handles it internally. Super slick for multi-computer setups.
That kind of built-in utility really highlights the different design goals, doesn't it? Which brings us nicely to the broader picture. Apple's ecosystem focus versus ASUS's pure display utility and ergonomics.
Exactly. When you look beyond the panel itself, Apple isn't just selling you a display. They've essentially packed a whole media hub into the monitor chassis. You get that built-in 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera, pretty decent quality, and it has center stage, which digitally pans and zooms to keep you framed during video calls. Very Apple.
And the audio isn't just an afterthought either. It's a 6-speaker system, supports spatial audio for things like Dolby Atmos, plus a 3-mic array they call studio quality with beamforming. I mean, that whole package potentially replaces your webcam, your external microphone, and your desk speakers. That's a lot of consolidation.
It's a significant value add, absolutely, if you need all those things, and we're planning to buy high-quality versions anyway. But the key is you're buying the camera and speakers whether you want them or not. They're baked in.
Right. And then there's the physical stand. The studio display is, well, it's complicated. Different stand options change the weight dramatically, like 12 pounds for the Visa mount version, up to almost 17 pounds for the height-adjustable one. And that height adjustment, it's a pricey add-on.
Whereas the ASUS ProArt, it's clearly marketed as ergonomic. Comes with a fully adjustable stand included in the box. Weighs a consistent 13 pounds or so. Its focus is squarely on the display performance. No fancy camera or speaker system, but it does have those specialized sensors we touched on. Ambient light and backlight sensors. Those work behind the scenes to help maintain consistent color accuracy over time and in varying room conditions, complementing the factory calibration. It's all about reliable visuals.
It really feels like ASUS is saying, here's the most accurate panel we can make for the price. Bring your own peripherals.
Yeah.
While Apple's saying, here's the complete, seamless desktop hub experience. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line for you, the creator? Try to choose between these two. Two powerful 5K options, but they force you to prioritize different things.
Well, the Apple Studio Display, it's the integrated ecosystem play, right? It's the elegant, simple choice if you're heavily invested in Apple gear. You value that seamlessness, the excellent built-in camera with center stage, the surprisingly good audio, that super bright, glossy screen, and clearing clutter off your desk.
Uh-huh. And the ASUS ProArt PA27 JCV.
That one is laser-focused on color-critical work. It's built for the professional who prioritizes verifiable color accuracy above all else. You get that guaranteed Delta E less than 2 calibration, the crucial anti-glare matte surface, wider Adobe RGB coverage, and really practical workflow tools like the Auto KVM and flexible port selection for various systems.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Well, yes, a very important one based on our sources right now, availability. While the ASUS might look superior on paper for pure color work and connectivity, the specific model we've discussed, the PA27 JCV, it seems to be marked as currently unavailable through major retailers at the time we're recording this.
That's critical. You can spec out the perfect monitor, but if you can't actually buy it.
Exactly. The Apple Studio Display, despite its own potential supply chain hiccups historically, is generally much more readily available. So if you need a 5K monitor now, Apple might win by default for many people simply due to availability.
That's a huge real-world factor to consider. So, okay, let me leave you with a final thought to chew on. Given that Apple bundles that high-end camera and speaker system as mandatory parts of the Studio Display package, how much value do you, as a creator, actually place on those integrated features like center stage and spatial audio? Are they worth potentially compromising on things like a matte screen or certified universal calibration? Or would you rather dedicate your budget purely to the best possible panel and workflow tools like the ASUS aims for, assuming you could find one? Where does your true priority lie? All right, that wraps up our deep dive into the 5K monitor showdown here at Tech Talk Central. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we really hope this breakdown helps you sift through the specs and philosophies to make the right choice for your next big gear investment. Glossy ecosystem or matte color precision.
To find the latest prices and availability, which, as we mentioned, is key, be sure to check out the links we've put in the description below. And hey, if you found this comparison useful and want more deep dives into creative tech, definitely hit that subscribe button for Tech Talk Central. We'll catch you on the next one.